What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. So sometimes in this life we eat crow, and for me that came in the way of the Canik TP9SFX. Now this is a buddy of mine's gun that he lent to me because I was just really curious. He kept talking about this thing, and this is not a guy that buys cheap stuff, and he typically has a higher taste when it comes to guns. So when he told me about this thing, it was like a $450 gun, kind of a copy of the Q5 match, guys. So just looking at this, seeing pictures of it, you can tell this is almost a dang carbon copy of the Walther Q5 match. Now there are some amazing options in this thing, and I kept just making fun of him for it because he'd be shooting it. He's actually used it in several matches. He's an ex-SWAT guy, did like 15 years on teams. Very tactical guy and very well informed when it comes to guns. He's an armorer. He's done all kinds of stuff throughout his life, so he's somebody that I trust. But when he initially told me about this thing, he said it was imported from Turkey by Century Arms, and he said the name was actually called Canik, not Canik, what I guess is what everybody calls it. I don't know, I looked at the name and I would say Canik, you know, but he said he kept calling it a Canik, and I'm like, what is a Canik? What in the hell are you talking about? And he pulls this thing out and shows it to me, and I'm like, I've never seen that before, but I've never heard of it either. And it kind of sounds like you're doing the Joe Dirte thing where you're trying to make dirt sound good or calling Target Target or something. So I kind of scoffed at it. And then he's like, look, take it and shoot it. And he rigged it up with that Delta Point Pro because he actually uses this in matches, and he does quite well. And I gotta say, I had to eat crow because this thing really did shock me. Because for what you pay for this thing, it is an absolutely great firearm. It shoots absolutely amazing. The trigger on this thing, take a quick look right here. Now the take up is not the shortest, but it is shorter than others. Great break, reset, break. The trigger is right at 3 pounds on this on my pull gauge, and we will take a look at that up close. But this thing comes with a ton of stuff that others like the MOS or even the CZ-P10 Optics Ready series do not. You're gonna get a lot of options with this thing, and the way that it shoots just really was the best part of this. I mean, it was very flat, very good ergonomics to hold in the hand, and I found myself just right on target with this each time I went to draw and shoot the thing. And I'll roll in some footage here throughout of where I'm actually working this gun out of an ALS style holster. It's not an ALS holster. It's actually that Blackhawk Omnivore holster, and I'm gonna do a review on that. But I can tell you guys, that thing's pretty much hot garbage. I needed something that I could stick every gun that I own in and try to use it and train with it so you guys can have an idea of what I'm doing and using would actually be for like duty use or how's it gonna run. And that's why I got that, but it's not necessarily the best holster in the world. So as of filming this video right now, this thing comes in at gun stores at right around that 450, maybe just a little bit more. And I think that is absolutely an exceptional value for what you are getting. Now I wanna go ahead and get into this thing. We'll go ahead and check out some of that range footage as well. We're gonna take this apart. I'm gonna kind of explain to you what's going on in here because it is a different trigger mechanism than I've ever seen before, but you know, everybody's got to differentiate themselves from one another. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into this thing, check it out. If you guys like what's going on here and you like learning about this stuff and just seeing these different things that are out there in the market, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. But we're gonna get into this Canik TP9SFX right now. Okay, we're jumping into the Canik TP9SFX, as you can see right here, with that Lupo Delta Point Pro on it right now. This gun, like I said, shocked the crap out of me. It turned out to be actually pretty dang good, especially for about a $450 to $500 gun. The prices kind of range, you can look at online. So we're gonna run through the basic specs on this real quick, guys. I'm gonna read them right off the Canik website for you. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get into my overall feelings from this. So what we are looking at right here, the TP9SFX version. So this is a tungsten Cerakote over a phosphate finish. So Cerakote wears a little faster than some other coatings, but this gun has been in and out of a lot of holsters. You can see the barrel wear. This thing has thousands of rounds through it. Unknown right now. I did borrow this from a buddy, but I know it's probably got around that 5K mark. It's a 9mm, everybody knows that. It is 20 plus 1. So you got an 18 round mag, basically solid steel mag, and then it's got a +2 on it. I think all their mags are actually made by Gar, which are fairly high quality mags. I've used those for other guns in the past. 5.2 inch barrel, overall length of 8.27 inches. So this boy is long, but this is kind of geared towards competition guys, and we'll get into more of that later. It's about 6.2 inches tall. It is 1.37 on that width, and it weighs 1.83 pounds unloaded. So let's go ahead and get into what comes with this thing here. So it's kind of the back plate usually has the rear sight on it, and then the front sight has the same pattern right here. So that is actually kind of an industry standard dovetail sight, both front and rear, and those are made by Warren Tactical. And it's got a red in it right now, as you guys can see right there, fiber optic, but it does come with a green as well. So that's pretty cool. You get a couple of options there for the sights. So it does come with 4 different RMR or optic plates. This one's for the Delta Point Pro on here. You get an RMR one, you get a Vortex one, and I can't remember which one the other one does fit. Pretty dang nice plate for what we got here. And then it's got a slot in there. You can see the threading right there on both sides. That's actually for a small charging handle that comes out. I don't have all the other parts with me because, like I said, I borrowed this from a buddy, and those parts are somewhere in his garage and he couldn't find them. So this is what we're dealing with right here, which is the gun and a couple of mags. So actually pretty dang cool that it comes with these very nice optics plates. You can see they've carried those serrations into the top. So if you're doing manipulations, you've got a lot of serration here to grab onto. So pretty cool there. We do have some interchangeable back straps. I think there's 3 of them in total. This is the slim one on there right now. Got a very, very 1911-esque angle on the grip, but pretty dang cool. Got a striker indicator back there. Once this is in battery, you'll have that indicator on the back right there. Sometimes companies put those in red, sometimes they're just there like that, and then once you depress trigger, that actually disappears. So pretty dang cool there. We do have a couple different size magazine releases right here. They give you some different extensions that just screw right in over that. So that is pretty dang cool, because in the competition world, anything you can do to go a little bit faster is better. Got a very extended native control there for the slide. I actually found that to be a little bit of a problem for my hand size and my hand placement. Moving forward, we got very nice depressed lever here for the slide lock, and pretty dang easy to work with. Comes apart just like a Glock, guys. We'll get into that in a second. Standard Picatinny rail up there. Get into the rest of that slide. Got those front serrations. It has been ported. We got some nice kind of machine work across the top. You can see right there, got a couple holes right there for some pins. And then obviously got some more porting job down there. Very flushed barrel on that, so I noticed that as well. Usually you get about, I don't know, 1/4 inch of a barrel sticking out on most manufacturers. This is extremely flush on this. Overall, this thing shoots very, very good. This does have some, basic tape on it here to give it a little bit more grip. That's what my buddy did to this to kind of make it more user-friendly for him. The overall texture, I did touch one in a store, I felt to be fine, but it's definitely nicer to have, especially for competition, this extremely aggressive grip here. And we got a very generous trigger guard right here. I've got really big fingers, and in Glocks, sometimes a little tight for me. So this is a very generous trigger guard right there. And it's very nicely rounded, so you don't have that feeling like you get on some of the Glocks right up in here. It's got just the right amount of depression in there for my big old hands, and feels just really good in there. So let's talk about this trigger real quick. As you can see, looks like a Glock trigger. Got the trigger shoe safety, but quite a bit larger than a standard Glock trigger. Now, let's check this out here. We got our take up. Right there is the wall. wall, break. Now, reset, break. Extremely light for a factory polymer trigger. I want to say it's right between 3 to 3.5 pounds. Feels absolutely great, guys. I mean, the take up is extremely smooth. It's a pretty defined wall right there. Almost no creep. So there's wall, break. Very well done on this trigger. This has to be probably one of the best feeling triggers out of the box that I have felt in a striker fired pistol, whether it's SIG, Glock, H&K, CZ. This thing feels absolutely great out of the box, guys. Really, really good stuff here. So let's go ahead and break this down. It comes apart like a Glock. Cycle it, sure it's dry. Pull down on the levers and slide off. We see that we've got a pretty standard looking guide rod and spring there. And then we've got our barrel. So pretty long. I actually just cleaned this up for my buddy because he lent it to me and I'm pretty sure he knew I was going to get into this thing deep and clean it for him because I really wanted to know how it worked. So very nice polished feed ramp that it comes with there. So we don't have any target crown in the barrel right there, but not that big of a deal. Overall, we can see we have our traditional rifling in there. Shoots well. I didn't have any problems with this barrel at all. And I know my buddy has put a lot of rounds through this thing and it is doing very well for him as well. So very, very reminiscent of pretty much every other striker fired pistol out there, the way it comes apart and goes together. Now let's go ahead and check out what we got going in on the frame right here, guys. So quite a bit different. You know, we got a bunch of different stuff going on in here. We've got two of those fins right there that Glock is notorious for having that vertical extension on the trigger bar. Canik's got two of them. Your trigger return spring is back here. I'm going to use this pen with the orange tip because a viewer said he was having trouble with his eyes seeing where that black Glock tool was pointing. So I'm going to kind of use this. So this is actually your sear right back here. You can see that little tiny shiny spot. Kind of get this to focus in really good. That's where the sear makes contact with your striker lug right there. So our trigger safety works the same as every other pistol right there. As we pull the trigger back, right down in here, guys, where you can see the tip of my pen going, there is a vertical bar that comes off the side of the trigger bar and it moves right there. There's a vertical part of that bar which allows the sear to drop down, allows the striker to go forward. And then this front right here section of that vertical extension of the trigger bar is the one that actually depresses your plunger safety, which is right here, very reminiscent of a Glock and Smith & Wesson. And then the second side actually rides on this portion of the slide, which is kind of milled down right here. So as the slide is cycling and coming back like this across that secondary bar right there, you can see where it fits in. As that slide comes back and you have pulled the trigger to the rear, it's going to push down on that, which is going to allow this bar right here to go back underneath the sear and reset that trigger. So kind of the same thing as on a Glock connector where the trigger bar overrides it and goes down. Pretty much the same thing that's going on, just a couple of different parts in there. Pretty cool little trigger setup in there, guys. We'll go ahead and get back together here and we're going to do some pull tests because this thing is pretty dang cool on the pull tests. Oh, and the base plates on the +2s are these the ones you're going to get, the gray ones. This black one is just an additional mag that I was using that he gave me. So go ahead and make sure we are good to go. And we're going to do some pull tests on this bad boy because it pulls pretty dang low and it is definitely fun to shoot out there. So get that zoomed in for you right there, guys. We are right at 3 pounds 4 ounces, so that's pretty good. That's about where I expected it to be. Right there is 3.5 pounds, guys. Sorry for taking the camera so long for taking to focus in for you. We'll do one more. I usually like to do 3, just kind of stay consistent. That was an overpull, guys. We're redoing that one for sure. So that one registered at 4, but I want to say I hit the side of the frame on that. So we'll do one more just to make sure we're doing this good. So yeah, right there again, 3.5. So we were between about 3.4 ounces and then about 3.5, something like that. So pretty dang good, guys. Overall, this thing shot very well, did very well out there on the range. The only thing I would have liked to have seen changed out of this, a little bit better of a magazine well right here. That doesn't really give you any mag well to speak of generally. I like the fact that it is closed off here, but definitely I had a couple of hang-ups when I was out there first getting into this, because it is just really, really tight around the magazines right there. So really would have liked to have seen a little bit better of a flare down here. That would have been awesome. I know I've seen a couple of mag welds out there for this. I don't know which brand they are, but in all, guys, this thing, just absolutely a great shooter out there on the range, and that trigger is awesome. So we'll go ahead and get back up on the chair and we'll finish this up on the Canik TP9SFX. This Canik TP9SFX absolutely shocked me, and I'm not generally one to be like, you know, jumping up and down about a $400 to $700 polymer pistol. Now you give me like a Kimber or an STI or something, I'm gonna be an extremely happy camper for the day. But for what this thing is, I really think that this is an absolutely great firearm. Now I have heard there's been an issue or two with these things breaking firing pins. And I know there are some kits out there that sell like 2 for 1 or something. There's probably around 5,000 rounds for this one right now, and I know that's not been an issue with this thing. But there is just so much good stuff going on in here. I mean, between the trigger, you get the optics plates. If you're doing comps, you get a charging handle. You're getting different extensions for your magazine release. I mean, this is just a really great package. And I don't think there's anything else out there, at least that I know of, that after talking to some other people that I trust, really gives you what this does anywhere near in that price range. And I really think that if you're looking to get into competition or just, you know, here and there doing competitions or stuff, and you don't really have a race style gun or a competition style gun, I think this is absolutely somewhere would be awesome to start for people. I mean, I was able to run this thing very, very quickly. And it did take me a little bit to get going. As you saw in those videos, I had a mishapper here just because of the length of those mags, those base plates, and coming up in there. Every different gun is a little bit longer or shorter, or has a different angle. So I like to go out and practice with those. And you could see once I got used to this after a couple of mag exchanges and a couple of drills, I mean, this gun was just very easy to run. The only issue that I did run into is you did see once or twice where I'd come out and my thumb would hit that extended slide stop, slide release, because just it's very, very extended. It is very solid. And just the way I would grip it, I would actually send that slide back into battery with no round in there, and then I would just use that optic to reset, find out that I had nothing left in the mag, and then do an exchange there. And I kind of set those drills up like that on purpose, either with a dummy round, or I'll have somebody else load my mags, or I'll load the mags with 2 or 3 or 4 rounds, and then I mix them up because I don't want to know what's in there when I reload or load. I want to be able to practice those drills, not knowing when and where, you know, a failure to feed or a bad round or something like that's going to happen. And that's just because of how I use guns for a living, and I want to always stay up to date on that. And I really wanted to run this thing like it was going to be a duty gun, because I think that this thing is just awesome. I mean, for 450 bucks, I don't think there's a lot out there that beats or competes with it. So I really hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you liked learning about this Canik TP9SFX. If you guys like what's going on here with the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, I don't know what you're still doing here, but it's the end. So go ahead and grab whatever you got around you and throw it at that thumbs down button in an even number of times. You guys go ahead, stay safe, stay ready, go out there and shoot some of that ammo you've been buying, and I will see you all on the next one.